being blocked. So it says Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's team blocked FBI Epstein probe after being told he was a suspect, not a witness. So you obviously know how, investigations and everything work. I want to read some of this to you and you tell me what's going on, because for me, I always come from the side of, well, it's two-tier, isn't it? It's blue blood, same rules don't apply. So insiders, I'll read this so you've got the info as well. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's lawyers blocked FBI investigators from interviewing him over his links to Jeffrey Epstein after being told he was a suspect in their inquiry, not a witness. Emails buried in the Epstein files expose how from January 2020, Andrew's legal team have become embroiled in 9 months of fraught negotiations with US authorities over his cooperation with their inquiry into the late paedophile financier. In June last year, his legal team said he'd offered to assist the Department of Justice as a witness 3 times. But the emails unearthed by the Mail on Sunday show he was being sought for interview not merely because he might have information about Epstein, but because he was under suspicion. In a letter to US prosecutors in September 2020, his solicitor, Gary Bloxham, wrote, "You have confirmed to us that you regard our client not as a witness, but as a subject." He said the designation had been relayed in January that year through a liaison officer and again during subsequent meetings. Prosecutors did not dispute the claim, continuing instead to press for an oral interview rather than the written statement Andrew's team offered as a compromise. Okay, we're just going to pause here. Glenn, what is this words like compromise? And if you are to be questioned, you're not really in a position where you can be negotiating, no?
Absolutely not. This is a major escalation from the FBI. Firstly, it's about a belief. It's about critical information this person may have or may not have. There is no, under the formula of MICE, money, ideology, compromise, and ego, there is no compromise here. However, there is ideology because there is a belief from the FBI that there's critical information Andrew Mountbatten has that is crucial to this inquiry.
Right. So is it a fact that, does it look to you like Andrew's legal team, and let's be honest, when we say Andrew's legal team, this is the palace, right? So are the palace almost trying to play checkmate, saying, well, because obviously I'm not a legal expert, but as a former investigator,
Nor am I.
But your knowledge is, you have great knowledge when it comes to this kind of thing. Are Andrew's legal team potentially saying, well, you're either investigating him as a suspect or not, and if you're investigating him as a suspect, he can't be a witness? Surely you can be both.
Well, let's take the approach very simply. If I happen to look at your 3 closest friends, here's a question, and I put digital surveillance upon that, what would that uncover about you? And that's the application, what the FBI are saying literally here. They've got critical information.
Do you know, Glenn, what it would uncover about me? That me and my best friends are really boring. We all talk. Well, I've got like 3 best girlfriends, and we're all obsessed with going to shops like Home Bargains. We could sit and talk about which laundry detergent we're using, and those are the kind of things. Like, we're all very, very boring. But I imagine Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and what his friends' circles show is far from boring.
Exactly. It's about application and when that's applied, then you get a result from that. They obviously are sitting on crucial information that needs to be explored and amplified, and are asking for cooperation. Now, bear in mind that we know that Charlotte Manley, the PA to Andrew, is already is willing to assist the police. I don't see where this common theme of non-cooperation is.
Get 100 free spins with your first £10 deposit. All winnings are paid in cash.
Mr. Q.
The casino you love to hate.
The
reason we built the Hume Band has nothing to do with fitness. We built this because people in our founders' circles kept dying. Heart attacks out of nowhere. Men in their 40s and 50s who felt fine, passed every checkup, wore Apple Watches, did everything right, and then they were gone. One founder lost his dad at 54. Another lost an uncle at 49. Another watched his brother survive a massive heart attack at 47 that left him permanently disabled. All of them healthy, all of them blindsided. So we got obsessed. Spent years with Harvard bioengineers, burned through prototypes, tested against clinical equipment, validated the data over and over until we knew it worked. Not to compete with Fitbit, not to make a better Apple Watch, not to help athletes shave seconds off their marathon time. We built it to catch what killed our families before it kills yours. The Hume Band focuses on just one thing: detecting the warning signs that show up weeks before a heart attack, a stroke, a metabolic collapse, cardiovascular stress patterns, inflammatory markers, recovery decline, the stuff that builds silently while you feel completely fine. Apple and Fitbit don't track this because they're not trying to. Their customers are healthy people who want to feel healthier, count steps, track workouts, close rings. Our customers are average Americans who don't want to die early, who have family history, who are tired all the time and don't know why, who want to know if something's building up inside them before it's too late. That's the difference. We're not for athletes. We're for the 51-year-old dad who coaches Little League and has no idea his heart is failing. We're for the 46-year-old mom who's been exhausted for years and thinks it's just stress. We're for every person who ever said, "He seems so healthy," at a funeral. Over 30,000 cardiac events prevented. Tens of thousands of cases of sleep apnea detected. Metabolic dysfunction caught before it became diabetes. Real people still alive. Because the band saw what their Apple Watch couldn't. It comes with a 45-day guarantee at humehealth.com. Wear it, see the data. If it doesn't show you something your Apple Watch never could, send it back. We didn't build this to get rich. We built it because we were tired of burying relatives who never saw it coming. Don't make your family write the same eulogy we did.
Yeah, it's really strange. Are the FBI, in your opinion, at fault here, or do you think they're being blocked by, big cheese lawyers from Andrew's side?
You are making an application or trying to compel a witness or not to give evidence. How can you possibly be in the wrong lane? You're in the right lane. Do you agree?
You're talking in riddles.
Sorry, you are in the right lane. They are basically going through protocol, and this is process. This is nothing untoward. It's just pure process to get the information that they need, the critical information that they need.
Yeah. So the FBI are not at fault then. They are trying to do their
No,
investigation.
absolutely not. Yeah.
So it says, okay, so if we keep going through it, it says, in a letter to US prosecutors in September 2020, his solicitor Gary Bloxham wrote, "You have confirmed to us that you regard our client not as a witness, but as a subject." He said the designation had been relayed in January that year through a liaison officer, and again during subsequent meetings. It then goes on to say, a US legal source said last night, if someone is a subject of a federal investigation, it means investigators are looking at evidence and seeing whether they have enough to prove involvement in a criminal activity. Under those circumstances, no lawyer would allow their client to talk freely, as they could end up incriminating themselves. It then continues to say the correspondence began in January 2020 when Mr. Bloxham wrote to the Department of Justice saying that Andrew had a strong desire to cooperate fully with the ongoing investigation. By June, however, his team said they could not commit to a particular form of cooperation without assurances of confidentiality. This is what drives me nuts, Glenn.
Yeah, it blurs the lines, doesn't it? It blurs the lines. Keep it simple. You're happy enough to do a BBC interview, but you're not happy enough to be interviewed by the FBI. It doesn't really make sense, does it? On one hand, you're willing to give an interview to the world, and on the other hand, you're not willing to participate in a very serious investigation.
Looking at this as well from an outside point of view it looks to me as well that if we go back in time, Virginia Giuffre and her allegations were never properly explored by the Met. Now, to me, it just, I don't know, it screams cover up. It screams that the ongoing investigations that could potentially implicate Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor have been scuppered, so there isn't that audit trail that clearly proves he potentially has been found or could be found guilty of wrongdoing.
Well, there is obstacles that have been put in place, and that's obviously to hinder the paper trail, I would say. These are key points that need to be explored by all teams. There does seem like there is a form of stitch up here to make sure things are not, accumulating into a convenient narrative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Do you think there's enough good people within the FBI and within the Met and Thames Valley? And I always say, yes, I come down hard on the police, but there are also some really, really good people within that. You know, we can't say all police are bad or all FBI are bad. Of course, there are some brilliant, honest people within those organizations.
Absolutely.
But do you think, looking at how this investigation so far into Andrew has gone, do you think this will ever be able to take place as a proper investigation, or do you think there are potential blocks being put in to stop us one day seeing a result that would be just damning on the Crown?
Well, just take out good and bad people and just do your job. Just do your job to the maximum. That's key. There has to be a proper due process here. If we can't have it in this country, we certainly can't have it in other countries as well. And the key thing is that it has to have a chain of events. It has to be charted, and it has to be event driven. And what I mean by that, we have to chart it, which is the paper trail, and the events, obviously what's occurring now regarding witnesses and suspects not being able to be challenged.
Well, also, so if I carry on going through this is what really stands out to me, is very, very concerning. Says by June, however, his team said they could not commit to a particular form of cooperation without assurances of confidentiality. The following month, prosecutors offered limited confidentiality, but warned they were not able to provide a broader grant of immunity with respect to statements made by your client during a voluntary interview. In September, Mr. Bloxham proposed a written witness statement and further engagement through written questioning as a fair compromise.
Are you exhausted by all the different diet advice on social media and all the extremes?
Well, we'll come back to that fair compromise, but the DOJ rejected the offer and filed a request to the Home Office to compel Andrew to be interviewed. That attempt ultimately failed. A second US legal source said last night that subject status means that prosecutors believe they have evidence linking you to a crime. There was a very real concern from his legal side that he might be considered a subject or target. That is why they would not let him sit for a deposition. Mr. Bloxham of London firm Blackford's is nicknamed Good News Gary for looking on the bright side for clients. In February, Andrew was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office over Epstein. He has not been charged. When we look at this part, and it's talking about a fair compromise, and when we look at this investigation, Glenn, and it's talking about the Home Office being worried, you know, that they could be sued, what does this mean in layman's terms? Because this is where I think it all becomes a bit complicated. And I would argue, is that why they do it?
Well, exactly. That's the common play, isn't it? This is about leverage, and equally, we all know it's a ticking time bomb. It's a ticking time bomb. And the whole thing is that once these processes are unraveling, we're not getting the true information. We're technically being put on our heads down. They want to keep our head down. They don't want to look at the bigger picture or play with our heads up, for want of a better word. There are bigger plays happening. And what I mean by that is that there's numerous facilitators around Andrew who have aided him and assisted him with networks. No senior role operates alone, point one. Point two, they have facilitators around them, they have aides around them, they had networks and committees that they answer to. So again, it's about unraveling this at a procedure level.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically what you're saying is potentially there's pushback from the UK to investigate Andrew properly, because once you pull that string, you realise, well, who was booking this? Who was with Andrew?
Absolutely.
Do
Carry on.
do you think the palace are going to continue to be implicated in a very negative way, or will the truth not come to light with this?
I think it's going to be a slow burn. We might get there in the end, hopefully. But Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is the centre of that Venn diagram. But again, once you start pulling on that string, the people around him were going to have to come out and play. What I mean by that, they're going to have to give testimony. They're going to have to give witness statements. They're going to have to cooperate. And that's what they want to do here. This is the first prerequisite of what the FBI are trying to achieve here, is to unlock the door, find a gateway.
And what's really interesting, Glenn, is so you did, some people may know you from this channel where you spoke about you've been a key witness for over a decade, and you're an author, former private investigator. One of the strings to your bow is you did also hack Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's phone. Now, you did do your time for it, and my personal belief is that you were absolutely thrown to the wolves by the media conglomerates, and that trying to put you away for phone hacking and making you the big bad wolf is like taking a drug dealer off the street and saying, oh, we banged that one up, that's the problem sorted. But what is particularly interesting is you've told me before Andrew Mountbatten Windsor had a claim for phone hacking that was it £500,000?
Let me give you some context.
Okay.
I had the royal household back in the early 2000s under digital surveillance. I was then arrested. I was then convicted, and I was sent to Belmarsh prison. The only senior royal that did not make a phone hacking claim was Prince Andrew. Now, the key thing is, at the moment, the whole world is on Prince Andrew's case, but I had his number back then. I knew and understand the dynamics of how that household worked. Now, the key thing is, he did not make no claim, which is a concern, first flag. The second flag is, why did he not make that claim? And that's easy to answer, because that will mean disclosures, evidence, networks, hidden contacts, who he was speaking through 24 hours 7. It is also give you a evidence base to work from.
So he had £500,000 on the table and said, now I'm all right.
This man walks and talks money. I mean, he walked away from £500,000 payoff. I mean, people don't walk away from a fiver on the street, do they? I wouldn't. I don't think you would. So the fact about that he walked away, and here's a kicker. Here's a kicker. If he did make a claim, and he's very dismissive about it, about money and everything, give the money to charity. Give it to veterans and homeless on the street. Give the money away, but don't walk away from it.
Did Sarah Ferguson make a claim?
I believe so. I believe so.
I mean, she loves some money.
So.
Does Sarah Ferguson? Crikey.
Wow. And that's another subject matter in itself. But
oh my God. What is that? Get in! That is how we do it. £2,000 on Fishing Frenzy. Absolutely amazing. Come on. You just never see it. But now you've seen it. Get in! Come on!
Andrew was not just the only one part of that household. You remember the household back in 2007 were the spotlight of this inquiry. So every household member, your Kate Middleton, Prince William, Prince Harry, all made claims. Paddy Harverson, the head of the household, made claims. And Helen Asprey. Prince Andrew did not make a claim, but also, quite evidently as well, is his PA did not make a claim.
What? So was
his PA?
So, and if I remember rightly,
Yeah.
Andrew's PA at the time was Caroline Clark?
Correct, yeah.
So how much was on the table for Caroline Clark, his PA?
Definitely 6 figures minimum if there's data breaches or, incursions into data management of her case. And also if it escalated up to the chain with, a phone hacking claim, probably potentially a little bit more. So between the pair of them, it was definitely £500,000 that they walked away from. If we go by the basic numbers that I've been paid out, that makes sense.
That's crazy. So potentially, and we don't know, but this is obviously a nuanced discussion.
Yeah.
Andrew and his PA, Caroline Clark, had, we believe, somewhere around £500,000 sat on the table. But if they wanted that £500,000 for the phone hacking settlement, they would have to give evidence, or what process? Because I like, in my head, I'm trying to work out, why would anyone of sane mind, if you had your, someone had hacked your phone and it is a huge invasion of privacy, you would want justice, right? Not just in an apology, but you would want some form of financial settlement. So to get that, well, what kind of process did a royal have to follow to get that settlement? Because I'm trying to work out what could potentially have stopped Caroline Clark and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor taking that money.
For the last 14 years, I've been an expert witness and also a whistleblower on behalf of the claimants and victims. So you get to see the full entirety of the evidence. So when you make a claim, every number is seen, every detail is seen. You're going to have to put everything down on that piece of paper. Now, we know in this case, we were looking at Caroline Clark and Prince Andrew at that time. Now, what I can't go any further is that, was there relationships there? Was, business relations being questionable and things like that? So that would only have supported what we were investigating at that moment. Now, bear in mind that the police seized hundreds and hundreds of audio tapes of me the first time round, and they were put into a bracket of what they call special projects and others. You've seen the document. Now, here's a big question. In that phone hacking claim, you will see the entirety of all the information and your dealings. So you're talking to 24 hours 7, and you have all the numbers. It'll be a numbers game there. And all this evidence will come out, especially who you're contacting home and abroad, who you're talking to in the middle of the night, all the way through the night. And also, I'll have to add, there was some coded language in there. And I don't want to go down that road yet, but there's some coded language in there. So here's the key 3 questions about Caroline.
Hang on. Pause. What do you mean coded language? If you can't explicitly say, can you talk to me like I'm not a former investigator? Because you talk in riddle.
Well, I don't, and until you get to the end product of what it means, it means nothing anyway. But there was language used that wasn't coherent, didn't follow normal patterns and things like that on the voicemails. So that's a flag concern. That means you're speaking in code, for want of a better word. But here's the thing about Caroline Clark. 3 questions. Why hasn't she made a claim? Why hasn't she assisted the police? And why hasn't she responded to a right to a reply?
So do we know she hasn't responded to a right to reply, and do we know she isn't assisting the police? Is that factually correct?
Well, as far as I'm aware, it's factually correct, and I'd love to be challenged if it's not. And also, if she wants to make a claim, I'm happy to give her a witness statement as well.
Right.
More than happy.
This is just astounding. Now, I can't believe we're in a position where the FBI have.
And I want to be wrong, Lauren. I want her to make a claim. I want to know that she's assisting the police, and I want her to know that she's gonna or has responded to a right reply, because this again is due process.
Do you feel that the palace, because obviously you're in receipt of a lot of information. Do you feel that the palace are trying to, and I'm no fan of Andrew at all, but do you think the palace are trying to pin it on Andrew only so people don't get distracted and go, hang on, Andrew had police protection when he was at Epstein's. Andrew had PAs. He had, so many different staff that.
The best way to cleanse your liver after 30 years of crap food, not lemon ginger water, not celery juice, and skipping dessert for a week. Don't kid yourself. If you're a man over 40 who's lived on fried food and sugar, your liver is already overwhelmed. Stiff joints, brain fog, stubborn belly fat, sound familiar? Try this powerful liver supplement instead. Day 7, flush out fat buildup. Day 14, wake up refreshed. 1 month, your liver gets back to full health. Made with 80% high-purity silymarin, deep cell detox power. From New Zealand brand Oxy Energy, FDA and SGS certified, 95% proven effectiveness. It's already gone viral on TikTok. If you still see the yellow cart below, it's in stock. Mid-year deal. Buy 2, pay for 1. Miss it and you'll have to wait till next year.
Girl Math is paying the lowest price possible in the UK for weight loss meds. I kept seeing those weight loss plans for like £300 a month and thought, there's no way I can keep up with that. But then a friend told me about Bolt. They offer the most affordable weight loss solutions in the UK. You fill out a short form online, and if you qualify, they deliver the solution. They're a licensed UK pharmacy, so it's totally safe and legit. No bloated programs, no fluff, just the personalised weight loss treatment for a fraction of the usual price. If you've been waiting for a solution that actually fits your budget, this is it. Go check Bolt and take the free eligibility quiz. It takes only 2 minutes.
That we now know saw things, whether it's Andrew Loney's book, whether it's Paul Page. There are a lot of people that the establishment are trying to paint as bitter, angry, unreliable. But I would argue, actually, they're truth tellers. And the palace and that media machine want everyone focused just on it being Andrew. But you can't operate like that solo.
Good point. You mentioned Paul Page. I think correct me if I'm wrong. He has offered to give a witness statement. That's been declined by the Met. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. They have deemed him an unreliable witness because of the fact that he went to prison for fraud. Oh,
wow. So the people like Supergrasses do not have any criminal offences and then give evidence. He has an inside track, he's the inside man. He is actually critical to this inquiry. So how can they be dismissive of that? He knows the inner workings of that environment, the inner workings. Who is better placed? And how can you give evidence to the Crown? How can you be a Supergrass if you haven't been inside there? You're looking from the outside in. You know, he's a qualified witness.
But
that's
also,
astounding.
I think as well, Paul Page has given so much information that is so important. So if we look at, for example, women have been, he believes, trafficked in and out of the palace and they were never logged. So that immediately is a safeguarding failure because we don't know, there's no proof of those women. And
can I stop you there, Lauren? If it's men going in there, there's a terrorism link there as well. There's a heightened level of risk.
But so, we don't know if those women that Ghislaine Maxwell was recruiting, they could be spies.
Compromised. Going back to Mice, money, ideology, compromise, and ego. Paul Page was compromised there. We don't know who is going into that, who's sponsoring them, who's maintaining them. We have no bigger picture who these people are. It's actually outrageous.
And it also put the late Queen at risk as well, because having people come in and out of the palace, it actually makes a mockery of Buckingham Palace. The fact that Ghislaine Maxwell, foot down in the Range Rover, no pass, and tinted windows. So Paul Page didn't know who was in the back of that car. But also, this is something I found out recently, Glenn, is everyone has to show a pass when they go in and out of Buckingham Palace, even the top aides. And the reason for this is not to prove you are who the guards know you are, but it's to confirm you haven't sold that pass on the black market, because trying to get into Buckingham Palace, that's the absolute, isn't it, for a potential terrorist or for a spy?
If we look at recourse, this would never have happened in the 70s, would it? And just for the fact of the matter is that, I have zero problem with the royal family. My late granddad was Irish Guards, but there is a problem with Andrew Mountbatten that needs to be addressed. That's key. And the fact of the matter that unknown people allowed on the palace grounds is it's unbelievable and it's outrageous. If you are having a party, you're only going to invite two types of people: the people that you know and love and like, and the people that you're going to try and impress. There's only two types of people, but you're going to know who's at your party. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we've seen as well, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, they've all been into the palace. And if we go back, this is obviously a conversation that is just awful to even broach, but Jimmy Savile, and he had free roam of the palace, but the mainstream don't talk about this ever. And these questions are only happening on independent channels like mine. People have said, oh, you're so hard on Andrew, leave him alone. He's had everything stripped from him. I think, well, actually, no, I'm not going to end and finish until I see a justice system that is happening fairly. And the fact that the FBI are blocked by the Home Office, this tells me everything I need to know.
Well, I'm in a great position because I was uniquely convicted of the same crime twice, so I know how the system works. So I should be in a position where I don't want to assist whistleblowers. I don't want to help victims. I should be angry, but I'm not. That's how they want you to operate. It needs to be accountability and transparency, and that's key. Accountability and transparency. Now, the key things here is that we know there was committees and networks running around Andrew, but they need to come out and play and help and assist the inquiry. It's critical.
Instant withdrawal guaranteed. Or we pay you £10.
Mr. Q.
The casino you love to hate.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking of the inquiry, so Prince Harry's legal case with Associated Newspapers it's come to an end, but we're awaiting the verdict. So when you were asked to give evidence, but you told me that his team didn't want your evidence, they wanted parts of your evidence. Is that correct to say?
Well, there's two views there, because you've got legal teams that say, well, we only want part of your evidence. We don't want your whole life story. I understand that. But if you want a pre-drafted, pre-described statement, they have to have the key facts in there, the key facts. And they were not in there. They was not in there. So I was very upset by that. So if they're not going to use the key facts, I was not going to participate with that for two reasons: restorative justice and the fact of the matter, there is no real outcomes to hearing the correct information. They're basically just using a convenient narrative, but not an accurate one. And I've said that time and time before.
Glenn, I want to get you back because I've had an idea. Insiders, drop a 1 in the chat if you want this. I'm just going to put it forwards. I am putting you on the spot, Glenn. I haven't asked you before, but I would love you to do a deep dive into Andrew and the corruption or potential corruption within the palace. So if we look at Virginia Giuffre's claims never being investigated properly, everything regarding the FBI and the palace now, because as a former investigator, you've done this for decades and decades. I'd love to forensically go through this with you and we can actually see in black and white, because I'm evidence-based, you're evidence-based, and then we can present it to you guys, the insiders, and see, do you think two-tier is at play, or do you think the legal process is taking its course as it should?
Absolutely. I'm an evidence-led guy like you. And also we'll look at the inconvenient truths. And thirdly, the audience are critical thinkers. Now, we need them to be on site. We need them to help and assist, because now we're living in a market where we are just given opinions, not from the people like the police and the news organisators. They are the ones that should be giving us the facts. It's the opposite way around. So we have to then deliver them the facts. They're going to have to change their viewpoint and change the way they approach things towards the public. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense.
Di Davies, the former head of Royal Protection, he just said it's just not possible. People didn't see this. I don't understand why the palace think we're this stupid or the police think we're this stupid. It's obvious that this is a network of people that were operating in some way. And Di Davies, interesting, doesn't have patronage, so can't be controlled. And he's such a truth teller. But he held the most senior position when it came to royal protection. And he's just said, what's happened to Virginia and the fact these things were never investigated properly. But what's happening since? People need to start talking.
He's a very honourable man to position himself like that and to speak the truth. And also, we know who's at the centre of these Venn diagrams. There's all systems. A Venn diagram is a mixture between the police, the government, and news organisations. And we know Andrew was at the centre of that because we've seen leaked information to the media, and we also see this cooperation, favourable cooperation from the police. Does that make sense? Centre of that Venn diagram. So that
negotiating with the FBI.
I mean, come on. Where's the level of standing there? You know, and full credit to the FBI on a lot of issues, but there is again, we're breaking down the sequences. We need to see more evidence. We need to see more witness and whistleblowers coming out to give evidence, because that's critical to keep this information flowing. And people like Di Davies are absolute gold to come out and say what he does. They're gold. They're weight in gold because they carry their qualified positions. A bit like Paul Page. And much as you're dismissive about his wrongdoing, like me, they carry the weight. They've been in qualified positions. All right.
I mean, look, obviously, like, you and Paul have done crimes and you've done time, but doesn't mean I think.
Actually, yeah, and I got convicted twice for the same one.
I mean, you were so good, you got convicted twice, Glenn.
But well, the irony is, I come out and work for Lord Stevens after that at Quest. So, and then I get convicted of the second crime twice, which leaves a bitter taste. But hey, you know, if Andrew goes in front of the same judge, I'm sure the judge would be apologising to him for wasting his time.
I mean, it makes me so cross that the two here. But look, drop a 1 in the chat, insiders, if you want that investigation. You know I love to go down that rabbit hole. And Glenn's expertise, if you're interested in, let's look at the Madeleine McCann investigation, let's look into Michael Barrymore, whatever it may be, drop a note below and let us know what kind of investigations you want to do. And we'll bring them to the channel. But for now, please hit the like button, and thank you so much for watching this live, and thank you, Glenn, for joining me. I am in the process of reading your book Shadow Man. It is brilliant. I will link it below, insiders. It is the story you won't get anywhere